Hello and welcome to this episode of THP Tutorials. This video is on the third chapter in our Management Information Systems series. This chapter is labeled Information Systems, Organizations, and Strategy. In the course of this chapter, we will talk about the features of organizations managers need to know about in order to build and use information systems successfully, the effect of information systems on organizations, Porter's competitive forces, the value chain model, and network economics. Lastly, we will look at the challenges posed by strategic information systems and how they should be addressed. Let's begin, but before we do, kindly hit the subscribe button and like this video for more episodes. We are going to first look at the features of an organization that are needed to be integrated with information systems in order for the organization to be successful. It is critical that we first define an organization from 2 points of view, the technical and behavioral definitions. Let's talk about the technical definition first. From the technical definition, an organization is a legal entity with a formal social structure that possesses resources in the environment to produce outputs, and it has internal rules and procedures. So as can be seen from the diagram, you have the inputs from the environment, right? And these inputs go into the organization. Inside the organization, production processes occur, and these processes result in the outputs that are brought to the environment. And it's a cycle all over and over again. Right, now let's talk about the behavioral definition. Behavioral definition says that an organization is a collection of rights, privileges, obligations, and responsibilities that is delicately balanced over a period of time through conflict and conflict resolution. Right, so in the diagram we see environmental resources on one end, and that goes into the formal organization where we have structure and process. With the structure we talk about hierarchy, division of labor, rules, procedures, business processes, and culture. And then for the processes we have the rights or obligations, privileges or responsibilities, values, norms, and people. Right, in business law we learn that an organization or a formal organization or a company, when registered, it becomes a separate legal entity. So the behavioral aspect is looking at the organization from the point of view that it is a separate legal entity. So it's made up of structure and processes, and that is what results in the environmental outputs. Right, now the behavioral view of organizations emphasizes group relationships, values, and structures. The previous chapters have already established the ground that information technology plays a crucial role in an organization's ability to succeed. Yet we will lay more emphasis on that in this chapter by looking at the two-way relationship between organizations and information technology. This complex two-way relationship is mediated by many factors, some of which include the organizational culture, structure, politics, business processes, and environment. This complex two-way relationship is demonstrated in this diagram. The features of an organization in which information systems play a crucial role include: 1. The hierarchical structure, accountability, authority in system of impartial decision making, adherence to the principle of efficiency, routines and business processes, and organizational politics, culture, environment, and structures. So this is speaking to the features or the aspects or the areas in an organization, both from the technical and behavioral point of view, that businesses need to integrate information systems into in order for the firm to succeed. Let's shed more light on these areas or aspects. First, the routines and business processes. Routines are standard operating procedures developed to cope with virtually all expected situations. A business process is simply a collection of routines, and the organization is made up of a collection of business processes. This is also illustrated in this diagram. Now, another feature is the organization, politics, culture, and environment. Let's talk about these features of a business as well. Organizational politics. Now, divergent viewpoints lead to political structure, competition, and conflict. Political resistance in the organization impedes organizational change. This is to say that in order for a business to succeed, it must not be caught up in political struggles, else information technology cannot bring the necessary change to its procedures due to too much red tape. That's bureaucracy. Now, for the organizational culture, it encompasses a set of assumptions that define the goal and product of the company or the organization. It has to do with what products the organization should produce, how and where it should be produced, for whom the products should be produced. The organizational culture may be a powerful unifying force as well as a restraint on change. The culture of an organization must be pro-information technology, or else they will find it difficult to automate their business processes using information systems. This will lead to poor performance against competitors who are implementing and adapting to information systems. Organizational environments. Organizations and environments have a reciprocal relationship. Organizations are open to and dependent on the social and physical environment. Organizations can influence their environment. Environments generally change faster than organizations. Information systems can be instruments of environmental scanning and act as a lens that can be seen in this diagram. Right? You see the eye and then the rays of light coming from the eye, and that's speaking to the government, their competitors, their customers, the financial institutions, their culture. Right? These are all the elements of the environment. Right? You have the environmental resources and constraints. Right? And the firm is the eye. Now the firm can only see these changes through the use of information systems. Right? So environments shape what organizations can do, but organizations can influence their environments and decide to change environments altogether. Information technology plays a critical role in helping organizations perceive environmental change and in helping organizations act on their environment. A reciprocal relationship implies that there is a give and take relationship between the environment and the organization. In the business world, a firm must always adapt to the ever-changing environment, and a great way to do that is the proactive way. That is to say that it will do an organization a great deal of good to always see the changes coming in order to prepare before the change fully hits. Without the computation power of information systems, a firm will not have the needed tools and competencies to see the changes coming. Without information systems, a firm will always lag behind in the market. That's enough on the features of an organization and how they can help achieve success through implementation of information systems. Now let's talk about the impact that information systems have on the organization. First, the economic impacts. Information technology changes relative cost of capital and cost of information. Information systems technology is a factor of production, just like capital and labor. Information technology affects the cost and quality of information and changes economics of information. Information technology helps firms contract in size because it can reduce transaction cost and outsourcing. Next, we have transaction cost theory. Right now, this impact of information systems on the organization speaks to or refers to how, with the aid of information systems, firms economize on transaction costs. That's the cost of participating in markets. Information technology lowers market transaction costs for a firm, making it worthwhile for firms to transact with other firms rather than grow the number of employees and incur more cost. Now, another impact is the agency theory. Now, this says that firms experience agency costs, that's the cost of managing and supervising, which rise as the firm grows. IT can reduce agency costs, making it possible for firms to grow without adding to the cost of supervising and without adding employees. Now let's talk about the organizational and behavioral impacts. Information technology flattens the organization. Decision making is pushed to lower levels. Fewer managers are therefore needed to make decisions, and this reduces the span of control. Organizations are flattened in post-industrial societies. Authority increasingly relies on knowledge and competence rather than on formal positions. Now, another impact of information systems on organization is the organizational resistance to change. Information systems become bound up in organizational politics because they influence access to key resource, that is information. Information systems potentially change an organization's structure, culture, politics, and work. Most common reason for failure of large projects is due to organizational and political resistance to change. This diagram illustrates the elements that make up resistance in an organization. Implementing information systems has consequences for task arrangements, structures, and people. According to this model, to implement change, all four components must be changed simultaneously. Let's move on to the next topic in our chapter. How do Porter's 5 forces model, the value chain model, and network economies help companies develop competitive strategies using information systems? Let's start with Porter's competitive forces model. Why do some firms become leaders in their industry? Michael Porter's competitive forces model provides a general view of firms, their competitors, the environment, and the 5 competitive forces which shape the fate of the firm. This can be illustrated in a diagram. Now, in Porter's competitive forces model, the strategic position of the firm and its strategies are determined not only by competition with its traditional direct competitors, but also by 4 other forces in the industry's environment. These are the new market entrants, substitute products, customers, and suppliers. Let's talk about each of these forces. First, with the traditional competitors, although rivals are subject to the same industry forces as a firm, the force of competitive rivalry is often the largest determinant of an attractive industry, since it is affected by the 4 previous forces. When there is little differentiation between rivals, your product or service will be perceived as a commodity, and the buyer will purchase solely on price. With the new market entrants, when an industry starts becoming profitable, it will entice new entrants. If the barriers to entry are low, new entrants can easily capture market share and threaten profitability. New entrants undercut prices and offer valuable alternatives to what your industry currently provides. Substitute products and services. All firms in an industry are competing with other industries that make substitute products or services. If buyers can satisfy their needs with a different product or service from an alternative industry, that will put a lid on how high your industry can set its price. The more attractive the substitute, the firmer the lid on the industry profits. If there are many substitutes that can perform a similar function as your product or service, then the threat of substitutes is high. Now, customers. In Porter's 5 forces model, buyers are your customers. At the expense of your industry profitability, strong buyer power can lower prices, pit rivals against each other, and demand higher quality or service. The power of customers is higher when they are few in number and have many sellers to choose from. Beyond this, if a large portion of a seller's revenue is determined by a handful of buyers, those buyers will have more leverage. Suppliers offer your industry the needed inputs to operate. Example, components, materials, and services. When the bargaining power of suppliers is high, there is a strong chance your suppliers could set higher prices for those inputs or reduce quality without retaliation. If you have a number of suppliers to choose from, their bargaining power is likely low, so you will not have a problem switching suppliers if needed. Here are 4 generic strategies for dealing with competitive forces enabled by using IT. Low-cost leadership. Produce products and services at a lower price than competitors. 2. Product differentiation. Make all your products different from that of your rivals by integrating the ever-changing preferences, tastes, and specifications of your customers into your products and services. 3. Focus on market niche or niche markets. Use information systems to enable a focused strategy on a single market niche that your competitors are ignoring. 4. Strengthen customer and supplier intimacy. Use information systems to develop strong ties and loyalty with customers and suppliers. Now, let's talk about the value chain model. The value chain of a firm is defined as a series of activities that add value to the products or services. This model of gaining a competitive advantage highlights activities where competitive strategies can be best applied, as can be seen in this diagram. At each stage of the value chain, determine how information systems can improve operational efficiency and improve customer-supplier intimacy. So the activities in the value chain are broken down into 2. There's the primary activities, as can be seen in the diagram, that involves logistics, operations, marketing and sales, and service and outbound logistics, right? These are the activities that do have to do directly with the product or service that the firm is offering. And the supporting services or the service activities or the support activities are the administrating and management, human resources, technology, procurement, right? Those are activities that offer services to the firm, and they don't necessarily have to do directly with the products or services that the firm is offering, right? And the primary activities plus the supporting activities come together to make up the firm value chain, and that comes down with what sourcing and procurement systems and customer relationship management systems, and that goes into the firm, your suppliers, firm, distributors, and then your customers, right? So this figure provides examples of systems for both primary and support activities of a firm and of its value partners that can add a margin of value to a firm's products or services. Now, with the use of information systems, firms can go a step further and form value webs instead of value chains. A value web is a collection of independent firms using highly synchronized information technology to coordinate value chains to produce products or service collectively. A value web is more customer-driven and has linear operation than traditional value chain. A value web is a network system that can synchronize the value chains of business partners within an industry to rapidly respond to changes in supply and demand. This is illustrated in this diagram. So this diagram is a typical illustration of what a value web will look like. Let's talk about network economics. Network economics refers to business economics that benefit from the network effect. This is when the value of a good or service increases when others buy the same good or service. Examples are websites such as eBay or iVillage, where the community comes together and shares thoughts to help the website become a better business organization. Now let's talk about a business ecosystem. Now, a business ecosystem is a network of organizations including suppliers, distributors, customers, competitors, government agencies, and so on, involved in the delivery of a specific product or service through both competition and cooperation. The digital firm era requires a more dynamic view of the boundaries among industries, firms, customers, and suppliers, with competition occurring among industry sets in the business ecosystem. In the ecosystem model, multiple industries work together to deliver value to the customer. IT plays an important role in enabling a dense network of interactions among the participating firms. Now, let's finish our video by talking about the challenges firms face with the information technology. First, sustaining competitive advantage. Firms will have to sustain competitive advantage. This is because competitors can retaliate and copy strategic systems, and systems may become tools for survival. To aligning information technology with business objectives. In order to do this, the firm must perform strategic systems analysis of the structure of the industry and the firm value chains. This is not an easy thing to do, and that's why it's a challenge. Lastly, managing strategic transitions. The firm must adopt strategic systems, and this requires changes in business goals, relationship with customers and suppliers, and business processes. These are not very easy things to do and will always spark resistance to change. That is all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what are your thoughts and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching.